Coming up in this video, we have a lot to discuss. Well, it appears that WWE has some major plans for War Games. We're going to talk about that. Also, we got to talk about the backstage morale with WWE staff because apparently they're scared. Some major plans for a rising star. And yes, we are going to talk about WWE's expansion plans with the Performance Center, and it's all coming up right here on the Ango Show. If you guys want more videos like this, don't forget to click that subscribe button and ring that bell. We're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Maybe you could help us hit it. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I don't know. But your subscription would definitely be appreciated. I want to kick things off with some major plans for WWE's Bron Breakker. By the way, this is one of the coldest pictures in wrestling history. This might be the best World Heavyweight Championship photo ever. But apparently WWE has big plans for Bron Breakker. And this is obviously very exciting, but it comes at a time where a lot of people are confused because Bron Breakker was not in the Battle Royal. A lot of people were not sure about this decision. And, well, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, the decision was made not to have Bron Breakker or Bronson Reed in the Battle Royal. There was no storyline explanation provided other than the fact that Bron Breakker is the reason why Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed, you know, obviously we saw what happened there, right? They're the reason why Seth Rollins had to vacate the belt. But this is apparently due to a long-term strategy for Bron Breakker. Now, the report states that Bron Breakker is expected to end up as champion, but they have a plan of how and when to execute it. WWE officials apparently felt that the Saturday night's main event that's scheduled for November 1st is not the appropriate venue for Bron Breakker's planned championship victory. And obviously, it's a Peacock exclusive. It's not going to do the biggest viewership numbers. And therefore, the logic was that they want his win to be at a much bigger event. And quite frankly, I actually agree with that. If you follow me on Twitter, on social media, I have been very vocal about this, that Bron Breakker himself deserves a way better setting for his first world championship. And, you know, for WWE with Saturday night's main event, there's a storyline that's already ongoing with Jey Uso anyways, and whether he turns heel or what happens with him and Roman and Jimmy, there's definitely been a lot of twists and turns to that story. And believe it or not, I'm going to defend WWE's decision to have Jey Uso win that Battle Royal. I do think Bron Breakker, it's inevitable. He's a world champion. But I've been saying this since NXT 2.0. So it makes sense. If you've watched my content then, you should very much understand why I feel the way that I do now. This is a guy who should win the world championship at a SummerSlam, at a WrestleMania, at a big marquee event. And to do it at Saturday night's main event, I just don't feel like it's the best choice, in all honesty. I think there's just so many different things you could do, so many better things you can do. And quite frankly, for the WWE, if you hold off a little bit with Bron Breakker, you know, obviously he's a very great heel, but he's also going to be a very big babyface in this company as well. However you decide to get there, it doesn't really matter, but you can't rush it. And I think this is one of the things about WWE's booking that maybe sometimes they get criticized from you guys, the viewers, but you cannot rush things. You got to let things take a little bit of time. And Bron Breakker is ready by any means. You don't have to take time, but I think the longer you build the suspense and the drama and everything like that, it will keep viewers hooked. And right now, WWE seems to be doing a very good job of that. That's why attendance and viewership is up. This is why WWE is doing great things. You know, I think people who know the WWE product know that good things take time. And listen, man, like this would be the perfect opportunity to, you know, to keep that going. Keep that going. Keep that storyline going. Of course, there's a risk, right? The longer you wait, the opportunities you might have missed in the process could be an issue. But I think WWE has a plan here. That's what it sounds like based on the reports. But you just kind of have to trust them in this regard. And I think for Bron Breakker, it just makes a lot of sense. One argument that I would have made, honestly, more than Jey Uso winning the Battle Royal would be LA Knight. You know, it wouldn't have been a bad idea for LA Knight to finally win a world championship, but, you know, we'll see what WWE does. We'll see how they get there. But I will be patient. I am excited, and I'm glad that they at least recognize that Bron Breakker is a future star. Because again, this is the stuff that we've been saying since he's debuted. That brings us to our next topic, ladies and gentlemen. WWE is expanding their performance center. Now, this isn't necessarily news if you've been following my channel, but it appears WWE has already began construction on a new performance center. And that's obviously a very, very, very big deal because WWE, Triple H, they've talked about this. They said it was going to happen, but WWE in the past has said a lot of things are going to happen. They said NXT Europe was going to be a thing, and they've been silent on that. So now we know that WWE has officially started construction on the Performance Center. Triple H did confirm before that it was in Orlando, and they're building a new one in Orlando. They said it's going to be bigger. They said it's going to be better. The belief is that this new Performance Center will even have a television studio as well, which is fantastic because WWE definitely needs a television studio in there. You know, they do these kickoff shows. They do so many different things. So that's obviously important. But the big thing to me is with this new Performance Center, maybe we're going to have a different looking arena for NXT. You know, and I think that would be really, really huge. Listen, you know, we know the UFC Apex is getting built out as well, and they're going to reconstruct the UFC Apex, and there should be about 5,000 to 10,000 seats for fans in attendance. And I fully expect WWE to bring more events to the UFC Apex. I heard a little rumor that WWE and TNA were both going to use the UFC Apex in 2026. Now, obviously, we don't know if that's confirmed or not, but you have to imagine WWE could bring some NXT PLEs out to Las Vegas for the Apex. They could do their weekly shows at the Performance Center. I think this is a huge win. Quite frankly, I think it's a very smart move by the WWE. And maybe one thing that they can do with this new Performance Center, which I would be a big fan of, is let TNA use it. Let TNA use it. You know, TNA is going to get a new TV deal. TNA is going to go live, all these different things. If you're building a new Performance Center, dude, maybe this is a situation where WWE has the old Performance Center and a new Performance Center, and the old one gets converted into a studio that maybe TNA rents or something like that. I don't know. I would like to see something there, especially with AAA now being in the mix, right? If WWE is going to do TV for AAA, how is that going to work? If WWE is going to do Worlds Collide, you know, where are you going to do that? Like, there's so many different things, but between the partnerships with TNA and some of these other companies, and then plus they're buying AAA, a bigger Performance Center makes sense. But if you're building a new arena inside, and maybe you could fit some more fans in attendance, maybe you could have a different setup, I think that would be really dope. And I think NXT should explore that. And I think NXT having a new setup would make a lot of sense. But I'm very glad that this is actually happening. I'm very glad. It was something that was talked about for a while. Now it's actually happening. How long it will take, I don't know. We'll obviously keep you guys updated, and I'm sure WWE will provide pictures and a video reveal, stuff like that. Because that's how WWE does things. We have a huge update on the backstage morale of WWE staff. I thought this was a very, very interesting topic. Because obviously, you know, there's been a whole bunch of stuff about WWE using AI, and Dave Meltzer was the one who really pushed this narrative that like AI was going to replace WWE writers and stuff of that nature. However, the Wrestling Observer newsletter is now coming out talking about staff backstage not being happy about this. People saying that, you know, there's some anxiety that's being heightened. Another executive joked saying that it's not taking any jobs except for one person, and it was meant to be a joke. They said a name. But apparently this has led to a lot of people backstage being nervous. WWE has yet to come out, obviously, with any sort of update or any sort of statement on this. But of course, I think artificial intelligence is scaring a lot of people, quite frankly. I think, you know, as much as I think Dave Meltzer gets stories wrong, and I don't think Dave Meltzer has the highest accuracy, I think common sense tells you for sure that people are definitely worried about AI. But every person out there is kind of worried about AI. What is AI going to do, not only to forget about professional wrestling for a second, but what is it going to do to local restaurants and grocery chains and banks and all of these different jobs that people have? You know, AI is clearly a very, very, very big technological advancement that scares people. And, you know, with Dave Meltzer pushing out this narrative, I think it's important to understand that AI is not going to replace WWE writers. It simply will not. And we know that WWE is going to use AI for organizational skills and, obviously for some production stuff, but you're going to have people hands-on with those. So I don't think the WWE staff have to be worried right now, but I think the general consensus is everybody is aware of what AI is and what AI can do and what it could be long-term. And I think it's important to acknowledge that AI is a scary thing, but it's one of those things where WWE has always been ahead of the curve regardless. And this is one of those things where, as much as I don't want to see AI expanding the way that it is and this idea of robots and doing everything, these billionaires are not stopping that. That is absolutely for sure. And that brings us to some major War Games plans. Now that Seth Rollins is injured, we got to talk about this because apparently WWE still has plans in place. Now we're going to find out exactly how it changes. Now, the original report for the match was Seth Rollins, Bron Breakker, Bronson Reed, Austin Theory, and Brock Lesnar going up against CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Jacob Fatu, and either LA Knight or Jimmy Uso. However, the Wrestling Observer newsletter is now reporting despite Rollins' absence, the core concept for the match appears to remain intact as of this time. So the idea is that there is going to, in fact, be a War Games match consisting of CM Punk and Roman Reigns teaming up together. The idea is they will go up against the Vision, which I'm assuming would likely consist of Austin Theory and Brock Lesnar, but obviously they will need one more member. So obviously this is a big deal for Austin Theory because there has been rumors that WWE is still very high up on Austin Theory, and regardless of what happens with the Seth Rollins injury, they are still going to position Austin Theory in a major role. And it seems like he is still playing for this. Now I'm going to ask you guys a question. Who do you think should be the member that joins the Vision alongside Austin Theory, Brock Lesnar, Bron Breakker, and Bronson Reed? Because the babyface team is pretty much set. And depending on how the World Heavyweight Championship match goes at Saturday night's main event, either Jey Uso or CM Punk will be holding that world title. But if Roman Reigns is there tag teaming with them, that is something that's also very intriguing to me too. So I'm all for this. I like Austin Theory a lot. I'm glad to see WWE still has big plans for him. And I'm glad to see that WWE is sticking with this. Apparently the MFT match with the Y6 was considered for War Games. However, that match is no longer on the table. Major plans for WWE, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching The Ango Show.